All right. I could not be more thrilled. Chris, you're next. We're going to get you back out here to LA sometime soon. But for now, we got to dive in because tomorrow we have just one of the hugest not playoff games ever, right? A play-in game between the Warriors and Lakers right here on ESPN. So, Chris, with the Lakers battling through injury, just now having their full roster available, do you think they are vulnerable against the Warriors in the play-in?
Well, I mean, you have to agree they're as vulnerable as they have been for the past couple of seasons. I mean, with LeBron, of course, having that high ankle sprain, dealing with that, they took the precautions and held him out for an extra 6 games, and then he tweaks it again over the weekend. You do have to have some concern about that. With Dennis Schroeder being out for the last 2-3 weeks, AD kind of having those nagging injuries. On top of that, they haven't been able to really gel as a team quite yet, but they still have some sort of continuity. They still are the defending champions, so they're going to have some spirit about figuring everything out on the fly. And they're playing a very dangerous Warriors team. I mean, anytime I'm playing Steph Curry, the minute he gets out the car, you got to start guarding him.
Right,
he can hit it from anywhere.
And look, I said that I would never go against the light-skinned brother from the Bay with the green eyes, but guess what? I would never go against the GOAT LeBron James. I tell you that much, all right? And I think that the Lakers will win tomorrow, and I think they will win in great fashion. And here's why. That Rockets game, when they set LeBron James and Anthony Davis out, the role players were able to get their confidence back. I thought that was a brilliant move by the front office and the coaching staff. Now you're seeing Caldwell Pope, Taylor Horton-Tucker, all these guys are starting to play with that confidence. And then on the flip side of things, the Lakers are the #1 team defensively in the NBA. And with that being said, they hang their hats on the defensive end. So they have multiple bodies to throw out there alongside. They have the best duo in the game in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And I just think they're going to dominate the paint.
Well, look, I mean, whoever wins this then goes on to play the #2 seed. Do you think it's good for the Lakers if they're the ones who come out of this? If your prediction is correct, they will have gotten kind of an extra game with the guys back in the lineup who have been spotty and missing over the last month or two before they go in and face what will be a very tough matchup against Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns.
I do. I think that they need to get this 7th spot. And there's no disrespect to the Phoenix Suns, Rachel, because, I've been high on them since the beginning of the season, but Chris Paul, in the MVP conversation, Monty Williams, Coach of the Year conversation, James Jones for his GM conversation, but guess what? Lakers in 5.
Oh. Chris, would you like to follow that up?
I hear you. I mean, I think the Lakers, I think we can all agree, the Lakers, whoever they see in the first round, they're going to have supreme confidence that they could be successful. They know that they need to be healthy. And when they're healthy, they're the champions of the league. I think one of the things that'll be very important for them, kind of like Perk said, hang your hat on defense. Best defensive team in the league. You're going to play one of the best offensive players ever in the game tomorrow. So, I think that's going to give them a little bit of a rhythm and sort of an advantage. And I'm going to agree with Perk again, how he was saying that last week's win against the Rockets was good to boost the mentality of the bench. You needed to see that. I think the coaches did a great job in holding the big two out to make sure that they build some kind of continuity, because you're going to have that full team attack to be able to be successful in the playoffs. And with them having another game under their belt, you know how it is when you have a couple of weeks off or a week off and your opponent has played a game more recent than you, you're going to have a little more rhythm. You're going to be in a little bit better shape. So, I think that will be an advantage for the Lakers. I think they will figure it out. Brian will have to tend to his ankle, but I think he'll be more of a facilitator. You'll see him more in the post, drawing double teams and him kicking it out to his teammates to make plays. But, they've been in tough situations before, And I don't think there's any situation that makes them nervous coming into this playoff series.
Well, look, Chris, you have been on the court as a teammate with LeBron, I want to say roughly 24 times when he rolled or sprained that ankle and just sort of bionically came back. I mean, that was kind of one of the things he was known for injury-wise, that he had these bionic ankles, and then yet...
The shot clock wind down, and apparently one good eye, okay? To give the Lakers the lead, which they were also obviously able to hold on to. And here's LeBron after the game with our own Rachel Nichols. It's like Rocky movies. Remember when Mickey used to tell, or Paulie told Rocky, punch the one in the middle. So, Mark, what changed for the Lakers in the second half?
Defense, and this is something we're so enamored with offense that we don't talk about the Lakers' top-ranked defense. They held the Golden State Warriors to 100 points.
I agree with you to a point. I think what really happened was LeBron happened. Yeah. LeBron had a poor shooting half, as did his superstars, of course. And it didn't look quite right to me. It didn't have the lift that we normally see with him. But one thing LeBron can do is pass the ball as well as anyone I've ever seen, especially in pressure situations. And all those backdoor pass cuts to guys like Caruso, he got Anthony Davis in places where he was comfortable. And then the other thing, Mark, I would say is Golden State's going to look back on this game and be pretty bummed out because those turnovers you mentioned, I think a lot of them were careless and to some degree unforced. So Steph and Draymond, who were so brilliant in the opening half, they sort of gave it away there in the third quarter. And we know this happens with this team from time to time. And the other thing is they started fouling, and that's been their biggest Achilles heel all year long, is Golden State puts players to the line. And when you do that to a team like the Lakers, who are struggling and weren't in rhythm, ask any shooter, they'll tell you it's a great place to start feeling good again when you get free shots from the free throw line.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
No, go, please.
No, and I think another thing is we certainly need to be concerned about LeBron James. If you watched him, he was actually supposed to run the point guard, and he kept deferring to Schroeder, letting Schroeder bring the ball up. I'm hearing he's playing on one leg. So to see him not get a rest like the rest of the playoff participants who aren't in the play-in, to get this game yesterday was super meaningful for him, because had they lost and won Friday, he would have had just one day off. So I'm really nervous for the Lakers in terms of his health. And I do wonder when they do play the Suns, because they had some success against the Suns without LeBron, if AD is supposed to, if AD's AD, then I wonder if the Lakers get the first one, should they let LeBron sit a game and try to rest that ankle?
Okay, let's tackle one thing at a time here. Look, Jackie, you made a great point. LeBron went LeBron, right, for the second half. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But here's the thing, and Mark, you brought this up earlier, which is their defense, right? And if you look at this Lakers defense this season, when they had everybody healthy at the beginning of the season, which wasn't for very long, they were the best defense in the NBA from a defensive rating perspective. When it was just LeBron and the group without AD, in that span, they were the number 2 rated defense in the NBA. And in the stretch of almost 20 games or so, when they didn't have either guy, they were still the 4th best defense in the league. So that is their backbone. That is their calling card. And that's what Frank Vogel has been really great at throughout his career as a head coach, too. Now, I heard this part about you telling me LeBron playing on one leg, and we can all assume that. But you are suggesting that perhaps they could, or they may consider, or you believe they should consider resting him if they get a game?
Yeah, I know the Suns are looking at me like, oh, that's a lack of respect. No, I have great respect for them, but that by the way he played, by the way he deferred giving the ball to Schroeder, look, LeBron gave a will to win in the second half that is second to none. That triple-double game, 22, 11, and 10, that was off of grit. But I could think you could tell, and Jackie mentioned to it, he's in a lot of pain, and there's a long way to go if they're trying to repeat as champs, and you got to manage it.
Jackie?
Yeah, you're playing with fire, Mark. If you start sitting LeBron James during the postseason, he was allegedly on a minutes restriction last night. I don't know where he landed on that. But I don't think you need to go to those measures. Maybe you're just a little more judicious in how you use LeBron in these games. You mentioned Frank Vogel, George, and one of the other things that I thought he did in this game that was really smart, that we all knew he would do, and that it's the way I think they should play going forward, is He shifted Anthony Davis down to the 5. They're a better team defensively and offensively. It's not surprising to me at all because were the Lakers healthy, I think we would have been talking about LeBron James in another MVP race, and we would have been talking about them either at the very top of the East or about to win the East. And I think the reason people are selling on the Suns is because there's so much inexperience in that lineup, George. You've got Chris Paul and you've got Jake Crowder, but beyond that, think about the key components: DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. LeBron has 14 postseason appearances. Those guys have 0, a combined 0. So that's why people are not buying the Phoenix Suns. But I would say be careful. This has been a team that's been versatile all year long, very consistent. And Chris Paul has been an MVP candidate with the way he's been running that team.
Well, I don't trust Vegas. In a lot of ways, I think they're just always going to push forward the popular team. So, you know, I get it with the Lakers, and they are defending champs. But you see that guy right there, number 3? CP is going to have them ready to play.
Good.
CP is due. And I think with Book's a elite baller. I don't worry about him playing on this level. Yeah, you know, Ayton and Bridges. But I think CP gets this team ready to play. And while, you know, Davis has had his way with the Suns, CP is going to make sure this is a battle royal.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's any question. We all know Chris Paul is going there ready to just, you know, muck it up if he needs to and do whatever needs to get done to win. But I just think, you know, forget about just the playoff experience, which Jackie, you pointed out so astutely, right? Like, that's huge. I don't think there's any question. But I just don't know how deep a team they are, right? Like, when you look at their roster, like, how far down the roster do they really go where you have guys that you can trust, right? Maybe 7, right? Like, that to me is a problem against a Lakers team that has already played plenty of games and treaded water without LeBron and Anthony Davis. And now that those guys are in their roles, I think that they should be able to kind of move forward and kind of take care of the Suns pretty quickly. That's just my humble opinion. But
if it goes long.
Oh, well, if it goes long and LeBron gets hurt, yeah.
Jay Crowder's watching you right now,
Yeah.
George. Jay Crowder's got something to say to you.
Right, but he to your point, though, it's Jay Crowder, it's Chris. I know Devin Booker's going to show up. I believe DeAndre Ayton will show up. I like Mikal Bridges a ton, right? But
they don't have anybody to guard AD. That's the problem.
Right.
He's had really big games against them.
Yeah.
42, I believe, one of the last appearances. And I think the Lakers are going to have to, LeBron included, sit on AD's shoulders. He's got to get them past this series, help LeBron heal up. But they have no answer for him. He has to be dominant. He has to be in the post. He has to be aggressive. Can't just be three-pointers. And if he could do that, I think the Lakers can get past him.
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily that in the first half yesterday. So after the loss last night, the Warriors will face off against the Grizzlies in the play-in game tomorrow for the final playoff spot in the West and match up eventually with the Utah Jazz. The winner of that round will play them. So, Mark, what are your expectations for this final play-in game?
You know, I watched their game the other day. I think the Warriors, they have this champion experience. I've seen them play with their backs against the wall over the years. Obviously, Clay's not there, but they're at home. They've been there, done that. They're not going to be fearful of that. I wonder how Memphis is in this moment, playing against Steph and Golden State. I like the Warriors. I like them to handle Memphis. But the one thing that Memphis can do that they stopped doing in the previous loss is they got to go to Valanciunas all day, feed them, let them get a double-double, 20-15 game. And if they could not try to match buckets with Curry and force feed Valanciunas, I think they'll make it really scary for the Warriors.
I'll tell you what, if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm going to get my film out and I'm going to play the first 5 minutes of that third quarter from last night over and over and over and over again. So Steph Curry and Draymond, the two guys that you need to be at their very best, can see the lackadaisical turnovers that they cost and what it costs their team. You do that, you get that right. I do like the Warriors. Ja Morant, to me, is a wonderful player. We know he's going to be around for a long time. I do think he's been pressing a little bit. I thought he pressed a little bit in their game the other day. But they have a lot of great young talent. Maybe they've got their nerves out of the way. It'll be a really great game. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah, they're not afraid.